and welcome to Hebrew class. This is the advanced class, and we're on week 3. The notes for this class you can find at www.theregathering.com/page/PFT Hebrew 3. And if you're looking for the beginner or intermediate classes, you can find those on YouTube at the Passion for Truth video channel of YouTube. So go on there, search for that, search for Hebrew class, and you can pull up all our past beginning and intermediate classes. And these advanced classes are being recorded as we go, so in the future you'll be able to find those as well. All right. Before I get into the actual subject for this week, I want to touch on something. We talked about the construct state in the first week of Advanced Hebrew. That's where two words are connected by what in English we would connect with the word of. But in Hebrew, we've just got two words back to back, and the first word is said to be in the construct state. One thing I did not cover at that time is what you do if the first word is plural. So, suppose we wish to say the horses of the king. Okay, now, Susim is horses, and the king is HaMelech. Okay, and again, as I mentioned last week, when you add the definite article to the second word in a construct phrase, it's implied in the first word as well. Okay, so Sus HaMelech would be the horse of the king. Okay, now when we have a plural as our first word, it doesn't matter if it's the second word, only the first word. A plural as our first word, instead of spelling out the entire plural, the giveaway that it's in the construct state is that we actually have a different plural form, which is Tzera Yod. So instead of Im, we say A. So Susei HaMelech means the horses of the king. Okay, instead of Im, we use A. Okay, so horses of is kind of the meaning of A.
Before you go any further, back up and say all of that again. Instead of Susim, you went
Susei.
Susei.
Right. We only do.
It still means plural and horse.
Yes. When it's used in the construct state, instead of saying Im, we'll use A. So when it's a phrase, something of something else. Okay, there's a couple giveaways, like when Bayit becomes Beit, we know it's in the construct state, and it means house of whatever comes afterwards. Okay, so, and other words will undergo a vowel change, and we'll know, okay, that's what's going on there. In the case of plurals, they change from Im to A. So it's kind of a giveaway, it's kind of an indicator, a tip-off that we're in the construct state now, and the word of is now implied right here. Okay? Now where you'll see this the most frequently, you'll find Bain, of course, is son, and sons, or children, is Banim. Okay? So when we see the phrase, the children of Israel, instead of Banim Yisrael, we find B'nai. B'nai Yisrael, the sons of Israel. Okay.
You know that's good, and it tells me one thing that I thought I knew now. I know I didn't know.
Right. So, and of course you can have B'nai any number of other things. The children of Seth, the children of Adam, the children of name your father. But that's B'nai Yisrael. That's a phrase you'll encounter who knows how many times in the Torah. But that's what that is. It's the plural of sons, but it's put in the construct state. Okay, sons of. Okay, so this A ending on your first word is how we make the first word plural in the construct state. Okay, so wanted to make sure I mentioned that. The daughters of the king. I can do that. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's how we make a masculine word plural. If a feminine plural is used, in the construct state it stays the same. Okay, so daughters of the king would just be Banot HaMelech. So yes, that is only masculine plurals. Or the masculine plural ending, I should say, changes to A from im, but feminine plural stays the same. Okay, so did want to touch on that before I get into our actual main topic for this week. And this is a fun one. Possessive pronominal suffixes. Now, what on earth does that mean? Well, if we wish to indicate possession of a noun in Hebrew, we do that by means of what they call a pronominal suffix. So, in English, we have possessive pronouns. So, for the pronoun he or him, the possessive pronoun is his. Okay? So if we wish to designate, and I'm going to use the example horse because Sus is a great word to use for adding these suffixes to. Wish to indicate possession of a horse by a man, we would say his horse. Okay, so that's the masculine singular, third person. Okay, second person would be your being the possessive pronoun for you, your horse, or not house, but horse. My is the first person. Okay. These are all singular, and of course the plurals would be their horse, your horse, our horse. Okay. We all know how that works. In Hebrew, instead of having a possessive pronoun, we have a possessive pronominal suffix. So we will add a suffix directly to the end of horse to indicate who it belongs to. Okay? So in the notes, I have all of the patterns that we can use to do that. So, Sus is a horse in Hebrew. Samech, Vav, Samech. Okay, Sus is a horse. Now, by adding any of the suffixes on that sheet, we can indicate the possessor of the horse. So, if you'll notice in the first person singular, okay, the suffix is chirik yod, Susi, and Susi means my horse. Okay.
And it has nothing to do with gender?
In the first person, gender isn't important because we use Susi whether I happen to be a man or a woman. So we'll use the same one either way, but when we're talking about the second or third person, gender becomes an issue. So if we wish to say his horse, If you find the third person singular, you'll find that that suffix is vav cholam. Suso means his horse. Okay? The feminine third person singular, so her, is actually susa. And one thing to note about, notice I'm putting this dot in the hay. So the feminine possessive is comets hay, but it's comets hay with this dot. That dot is known as a mapik. It's not a dagesh, but it's a mapik, and it will occur in a hay at the end of a word. And this is because comets hay is usually an indicator that the noun itself is feminine. And there's actually a word in this case. There's a word susa, which means a mare, which is a female horse. So in order to differentiate her horse from susa, which is a mare, this dot is what does that. Okay, because otherwise they'd look exactly the same. But this is in fact the possessive pronominal suffix. Okay, so anytime you add the possessive pronominal suffix for her, okay, you'll add that mapik in the hay in order to indicate that that's what's going on. Okay? So his horse, her horse, and what's worth noting here is that this noun's gender remains the same.
Mark, I'm hearing a new word.
Yes.
Mapik?
Mapik. It might be, there's another one called makip.
Okay.
And I may actually be confusing those two.
Connections between.
Yes, one of them is actually this little dash. One is makpip and one is makcape. And right now I'm not really confident which is which, but it's called one of those. You don't really need to know the name, just know that the dot in the hay indicates possession. Okay, when it's right, instead of making it a feminine noun itself. Okay, so this word is still a masculine word. It's just indicating that it belongs to whoever she happens to be. And the rest of the sentence will probably clarify who that is. Okay, so that's and I'll just kind of walk through these just so you see them all. But that's how it functions. Just add the suffix to your noun, and off you go. Here you've got possession. Okay, so their horse, sticking with the third person. If they happen to be masculine, susam. Okay, and if they happen to be feminine, Susan. And if your name happens to be Susan, I don't believe that your name actually comes from this, so don't worry about that. However, it would be transliterated S-U-S-A-N into English, but I don't believe that's actually where your name comes from, so your name doesn't mean their horse. Though you'd have to do a little research to know what it actually does mean. Okay, so that's the third person. Okay, horse belonging to him, belonging to her, belonging to them, belonging to them. Okay. And I'll go ahead and jump over to the first person since I already introduced one of those. Susie, again, not Susie, but Susie. Okay, Susie, my horse. And our horse is Susenu. Susenu. And okay, so that's the first person. E and Anu. you need to refer to your first page for your singular. There are 2 pages. I'll get into why there's 2 pages in just a minute here. But that's the page you want. The first page is the one you want for these examples.
My new is over here. But I've got a young people.
That's right. That's why you need your first page.
But when I look over, I can't find anything that look like that. That's why I'm stuck.
It's in the same spot. It's the lower right.
All right. That just goes to show you how little I know.
Okay. Our second person, again, when we went over pronouns, there are 4 ways of saying you. So there's 4 ways of saying your. So we've got suscha. Okay, that's your masculine singular horse. And this masculine singular is referring to your, not referring to horse. Okay, the horse is masculine and singular regardless, but it's the possessor of the horse that's masculine and singular in this case. Okay, so suscha is a horse belonging to one masculine noun. Okay, suscha. And feminine singular is susech. Susech. Okay, masculine plural is suschem. And the feminine plural is suschen. Okay. So, for a singular noun, these are the suffixes that we'll use. Now, that's for a singular masculine noun. If we have a feminine noun, we'll use these exact same suffixes, but if that feminine noun happens to end in a hey, okay, that hey will change to a tav. Okay, so suppose instead of a horse, we've got, instead of a horse, we've got a law, okay, a Torah. Okay, now Torah is a feminine singular noun. So if we wish to say my law, okay, we change that hey to a tav, and then we add our suffix after that. So the suffix would be e, so it becomes Torah-ti. Torah-ti, my law. Okay, his law would be Torah-to. Okay, so we just change the hey to a tav, then add our suffix, and it works exactly the same as with our masculine nouns after that. Okay.
Okay, to look at Torah, back over here, just the law. The root of that word is what?
Okay, the root of Torah is actually yara.
And the yod is not even in the word.
That's right.
So it's a hidden letter.
Yes, it's. Remember we were talking about the gizrot.
I'm just looking at this. I'm going like, I will be writing. I could read Torah, Torah-ti, and then I could read Torah-to. I'm going like, I'm reading it, and I'm hearing Torah, and I know it has something to do with the law, and I have no idea what it would be. Because I would not be able to find the root of that word.
Yes, there are certain words. Now, remember we were talking about the gizrot last week.
I remember hearing that, yes.
Yeah, the different categories of roots. And so they're categorized according to which letter appears in which position. And so, so one of those gizrot was Lamed Hey, which Yara belongs to. Okay, and so you'll notice that, well, Torah doesn't really, anyway, when this verb's conjugated, you'll find, and okay, because of this hey. This also, however, belongs to another gizra called Pei Yod, where the first radical is a yod. And what you'll find is that Pei Yod and also Ayin Yod, where the second radical is a yod, a lot of times that yod will disappear in the conjugation of the verb. And so that's how that winds up becoming Torah down the line. That yod actually drops off. And Pei Yod and Pei Nun and Ayin, the Ayin ones are actually not so bad. You can piece those together, but Pei Yod and Pei Nun are kind of rough to identify a lot of times because you've got two of the parts of the root, but you're not sure what the first part is. So, but yes, the root that ultimately Torah comes from is Yara. Okay, but that's a side topic from this particularly. Okay, so feminine singular nouns just change the hey to a tav. And feminine singular nouns that don't end in hey, just add the suffix like you normally would. The suffix, applies equally to masculine and feminine nouns. Again, the gender and number of the suffix has to do with who's possessing the noun, not with the noun itself. So that is something that becomes a little confusing once you start putting sentences together, is you'll probably want to match your suffix to the noun itself, but you really need to match it to whoever's possessing the noun. Okay. So that's two sets of gender and number to keep track of, and sometimes it confuses me too. But fortunately, you use the same suffixes whether the noun is masculine or feminine, so that helps. Suppose, though, that the noun is plural. Now that is where things get interesting. Now with the feminine, well, okay, I'll start at the beginning. Okay, so horses. Horses, susim. Okay, susim, horses. Now there are a different set of suffixes to make susim possessed, okay, by something else. Okay, so, and those are on the second sheet. And they're very similar to the ones on the first sheet. The main difference is the addition of a yod at the beginning, and the vowels are a little bit different too. Okay, now in the first person, which I'll start with, first person is spelled the same, just with one vowel change. Okay, so susi would be my horse, right? My horses is susai. Okay? Susi is my horse, susai is my horses. Our horses, though, follows more of the pattern that the rest of the suffixes follow. Okay, susenu is our horse, and susenu, with the yod, is our horses. And there's a reason that I pointed out the plural of the construct state at the beginning of this class. You'll notice susenu. It's almost like it's in the construct state. Instead of our horses, horses of us. Okay, horses belonging to us. Okay, but it's one word, but it has this kind of construct state pattern with this a, and you'll see that in the other pronouns as well, or in the other pronominal suffixes. Okay, so that's the first person, but if we jump to the third person, Okay, instead of suso, we've got susive. Susive. Okay, that's his horses. Her horses. Her horses is a little bit funny. Suseha. Okay, susive, suseha. And again, we're just adding the suffixes from that chart onto our.
People say they didn't need vowels.
Yes.
They're going to ask horse, okay, then who are you going to give the horses to?
Right. Yes, vowels are. Again, I'm very grateful to the Masoretes for introducing the vowel pointings, because otherwise you'd just have samech vav samech yod he and be left going, okay, is this someone's name that means the horse of God? What's going on here? Okay, and the vowels really give some clarity to that for us, people who don't, have the Torah memorized from the time we're 10 years old. So, for their horses, susehem, which is literally, remember our pronoun for them is haim. So this is just like construct state horses and them. Okay, susehem, but it's just all mashed together into one word. All right, so that's, you can see kind of where that comes from.
I'll be reading that, like with King Solomon, going like, what is Suseham? Stop and look, parts. Okay.
Yep. Yep, and you'll see, you see the suffixes all over, and you start to, okay, that's a suffix, okay, that's a suffix, and then you can trace back to your original word. Okay, so yes, susehem is their horses. And again, it's as if it's two words. Susehem, horses of them. Right? It's just like sticking the construct state. It's almost like the original form was actually two different words, and they just mashed them together. Susehen. Okay, their horses, feminine. All right, so that's the third person. And our second person. Okay, your horse, you'll remember, was suscha. So your horses is susecha. Again, that's in the masculine singular. All right, feminine singular is susayech. And then susechem instead of suschem. Suschem would be your horse. Susechem is your horses. Masculine plural. And then feminine plural, susechen. Okay. So again, usually the difference between singular and plural with these suffixes is just that yod. We're just dropping the suffix and then putting yod plus our regular. And of course, the vowels are a little different here and there. It's just a matter of memorization. But if you have that chart, you can always track it down and always refer to it to construct your words. Okay, so we've covered the masculine singular, which is just the chart from page 1. The feminine singular is the chart on page 1, but if it happens to end in a hey, change the hey to a tav first. The masculine plural is right here. Now the feminine plural is also right here. The feminine plural is just left intact, and then we add our suffix to the end of it. Okay, so nothing's feminine plural is the more straightforward of any of them, really, because if we were to speak of laws, okay, Torot, okay, laws, my laws would be Torotai. And again, it would be I and not E because Torot is plural. Okay, so that's actually a mistake that I tend to make is I just put the singular one on there, but you have to put the plural one because the noun is still plural even though you're not dropping the suffix. Okay, his laws would be Torotaiv. And so forth. Okay, her laws, Toroteha. Okay, our laws, Torotenu, and so on. Okay? So those are the possessive pronominal suffixes and how they apply to words. And so I want to write out some words that you'll encounter that use these suffixes a lot. And you'll encounter these in the Torah and all over the place. So one, Elohim, which means God. Now even though I mentioned that this is not a plural word, when suffixes are added to it, it is still treated as if it's plural. Okay? So when we say my God, well, actually, when we say my God, we'll usually just shorten it all the way to El and then add a suffix to that. But our God is a phrase that's very common in the Torah. As in Yahweh our God. So we add the suffix enu, becomes Eloheinu, our God. Yep, Eloheinu. Another one you'll see frequently is your God, your in the masculine singular, because a lot of the protagonists in the Torah are masculine and singular. Okay, so that becomes Elohecha, okay, your God, masculine singular. And you'll also see the masculine plural when addressing a group of people, which is Elohechem. Okay? So Elohim's one word that you'll see this attached to a lot. I mean, you can see it on any word that has possession going along with it. Okay. Yeah, so you see it on Elohim. Another thing you'll see these in a lot is in people's names. Because Hebrew names are just Hebrew words. And sometimes a name is just one Hebrew word, like Rachel, or Rachel, which means a ewe, E-W-E, a female sheep. or Kalev, okay, Caleb, which comes from Kelev, which means a dog. But sometimes they're phrases, they're combinations of two or more words. So,
Elijah.
right, Eliyahu. Now that's a great one, because that's just shortening Elohim to El. Okay, El is another word that means God. My God would be Eli, as in the phrase Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, my God, my God. That's just El with the singular first person possessive suffix, Eli. Okay? But Elijah kind of combines, well, it shares the yod. Because it's not Eliyahu, but it's all combined into one, Eliyahu. Okay, but even though the letter yod is shared, it means my God is Yah, or my God is Yahweh. Okay, Elijah. Eliezer is another one. I haven't gone over the word Azer, but it starts the same, Eli. And Azer I think it's actually Eleazar in the Hebrew. Something like that. Don't quote me on the vowels, but this word Azar means to help. So Eliezer means my God helps, or my God is a helper. Okay? It's actually what my daughter's middle name also means, but it's kind of flipped around a little bit. Okay, how many remember of the one person in this room, how many remember the Philistine king Abimelech? Okay. Abraham and Isaac both interact with Abimelech at various points.
Same conversation.
Yep. Well, Abimelech is two words. Avi. That's my father. Okay, Av is father. And actually, now Avi on its own, again, I'm terrible with vowels, so that vowel may not be right. But Avi on its own just means my father, and that's actually a very common Jewish name. You'll encounter plenty of Jewish people named Avi, and that's what it means, my father. But Abimelech is Avimelech. Okay, so my father is a king. And actually his name kind of cracks me up a little bit, because Abimelech is, the king. So his name just means, well, my father was a king. So I guess that's why he's the king, because his father was the king. But anyway, I just take a kind of strange, find it kind of strangely comical. But anyway, Abimelech, okay, Avimelech, combination of two words, and it's got this possessive pronominal suffix attached to Av. And so you'll see this all over the place.
So how is this name really spelled? Is it A-V or A-B?
We would pronounce it A-V, Avimelech. Yeah, Avimelech. Just like Avraham instead of Abraham. Okay, aside from the vowel changes, we say Avraham. And Avraham is a combination of two as well, but it doesn't include a suffix. Daniel's another good one. There's a name Dan, which is one of the tribes of Israel. Okay, and Dan on its own means a judge. Daniel, okay, Dani would mean my judge, is El. So God is my judge. Okay, and that's Daniel. So, anyway, just a note, you'll find these anywhere and everywhere, but it really adds some insight to names and to phrases you'll find all over the Torah, and it explains why words that you normally would recognize suddenly have all these endings that seem to come out of nowhere. They're not coming out of nowhere. They're usually possessive pronominal suffixes. Okay? So, okay, there are a couple words in the vocabulary I just want to touch on. And get a little practice in on some of our conjugation, just to refresh us, because next week we're going to really dig into some different conjugation forms. So, one of them is the verb, or the root shin, mem, resh, right, which means to keep or to guard. It's to keep in the sense of protecting, not in the sense of possessing, but watching over, or, you know, keeping, keeping safe. You'll find this in the phrase "keep the commandments." Okay, just to protect them. Okay, so suppose we were to make this present tense. All right. So we wish to speak of a man, say David. All right, and David is keeping the commandments. Okay, so David is masculine and singular. All right, so following our pattern, we'd have our first radical, Vav Cholam, second radical, Sarah, and third radical, David Shomer. Okay, so he's keeping. What's he keeping? Well, he's keeping the commandments. So the commandments are the object of our sentence. So we need to precede that with et. Right? Because David's keeping the commandments aren't keeping him. Or maybe they are, but but that's not the meaning of the sentence. Yep, it could be HaTorah if he's keeping the law. That's fine. Let's say he's keeping the Torah. I was going to say HaMitzvot, but Torah works too.
Mitzvah is law, right? Mitzvah.
Okay, so he's keeping the commandments. Let's see, I need two. Now in the Torah, frequently when you find the word commandments, they won't double the vav. Okay, they'll write mitzvot, it's still pronounced mitzvot, but they'll eliminate the vav from the suffix. They'll write it defectively as mitzvot. Okay, they'll just have a cholam there. So it's not pronounced mitzvot, it's still mitzvot, but they'll a lot of times they'll eliminate the vav from the suffix. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to write it this way just to keep in line with the rules that I'm teaching. Okay, so David shomer et ha-mitzvot. David is keeping the commandments. Okay, and if it was Sarah keeping the commandments, okay, Sarah, again, following our feminine singular pattern, it would be shomeret. Shomeret. Merit, yes. Sarah shomeret et ha-mitzvot. Right? Okay. A nondescript group, they. Okay, so haim. We would need the masculine plural form. So haim, shomrim, et ha-mitzvot. They are keeping the commandments. And a group of women. Hain, shomrot.
You know, haim and him sound alike.
They sound very similar, yes. Yep. Okay, so that are just a little more practice conjugating our verbs. And that follows our standard pattern, doesn't belong to any special gizra. Okay. And then the other verb root I have on there, resh, pei, aleph. And that means to heal. So you'll hear this in the phrase Yahweh Rapha. Okay, Yahweh is my healer. You'll also find it in the name Raphael. Okay, which means, again, God is a healer. So to conjugate this, okay, I'm not going to use them in the sentence per se, but the masculine singular would be Rophe. And again, before I get into this too far, this does belong to the Gizra Lamed Aleph, because an Aleph is the third radical. Okay, so in the present tense, that only has one minor deviation, which is in the feminine singular. Instead of Rophet, it just goes straight on through and becomes Rophate. Rophate. Okay. Rophim. For our masculine plural, Rophim. It'll have that little pause between the pei and the beginning of im. And Rophot. And one thing that I want to make a note of is on your vocabulary list, I also have a noun that comes from this verb. That noun is spelled resh, pei, aleph, a cholam between the resh and pei, and a tsera under the pei, Rophe. Now, Rophe is a healer, and in modern Hebrew, a doctor is called a Rophe. Because that is what a doctor ideally does, is helps people heal. One thing you'll notice about this word, though, is it's spelled, the vowels are cholam, tsera, which is the same as the vowels in our present tense. And that is why, strictly speaking, this isn't the present tense. Okay, it can function as the present tense, but strictly speaking, it doesn't exactly equate to our English present tense. It has more uses. In fact, this word is the same as this word. And so, if we say, supposing Adam was a doctor, and we say, Adam Rophe et David. Okay, Adam is healing David. Another way of translating that would be Adam is a healer of David. Okay, it's still functioning as a verb, but it has these other connotations that can be added to it. So that's why this isn't. This has a lot more uses than the English present tense does. It's called the active participle. Okay. So, just wanted to point that out. You'll notice a number of words also that follow this paradigm. You'll see words that are nouns that go OA, have this OA thing going on, and so you can trace those back to their roots and realize you're dealing with an active participle. So, just wanted to touch on that, but just all that to say, you will notice this OA, and sometimes. Well, in the case of Lamed Aleph, it just goes through to 8, but you'll see sometimes as well. So you'll find these patterns in things that are considered nouns. And it's just kind of an alternative usage of the active participle. Okay? So, I think that's all I've got. So are there any questions about possessive pronominal suffixes? Or anything else that's been covered thus far? All right. Well, then we will see you next week. Shalom.